Do you ever feel, caught between truly enjoying a delicious meal, maybe something wonderfully carb rich, and still wanting to stick to your health goals? What if navigating those moments didn't always have to be this battle of sheer willpower? What if there was a kind of scientific assist? Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're exploring a fascinating piece of research that offers, well, maybe just that. We're getting into an article titled Beyond Willpower, a scientific guide to cheating, a little on your diet. It's by Dr. Lutz Kraushar. He's a doctor of public health, also has an MSc, Crunch Rise in Nutrition. You can find more of his cutting-edge insights on his Substack. It's called Double Check Doc. Our mission today, to explore how emerging research is taking what sounds like a traditional remedy and turning it into a scientifically validated tool. It's really about managing blood sugar, maybe blunting the metabolic impact of those high-carb meals, giving you perhaps a layer of control beyond just gritting your teeth. And we'll also touch on Dr. Kraushaar's personal N of 3 experiment, basically a small study he did with his family to test this out, which I think really makes this topic relatable.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is how Dr. Kraushaar frames mobile relief extract, or MLE. He's very clear. It's not some magic bullet. It's positioned more as a tactical tool.
Tactical, how so?
Well, it's designed for health-conscious individuals, people who want to navigate, say, carb-heavy social events or those occasional dietary slip-ups, and potentially maybe even for long-term blood sugar regulation. We'll explore the mechanisms, the evidence, which is quite compelling, and the practical applications. So you can truly understand its power, but also, importantly, its limits.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Dr. Kraushaar kicks off his article with a scenario that I think many of us might find, well, all too familiar, especially as we get a little older. He talks about that old sort of battle cry of the physique proud. Eat what you like, stay lean, don't exercise, pick two.
Right, the classic trade-off.
Exactly. But then he admits pretty candidly that once you're maybe on the wrong side of 60, the struggle just becomes frustratingly harder.
Yeah.
Even if you're putting in serious hours at the gym every week, controlling your food intake Monday to Friday, those results just get tougher to achieve.
It's a common frustration. And he illustrates this really well with his own N of 3 experiment involving his family. It's quite personal. He describes his 43-year-old son, who's a recreational physique athlete, apparently panicking at an unwanted fat molecule on his six-pack.
Wow, okay. High standards there.
You could say that. And then his 69-year-old wife, who's petite, 5 foot tall, 44 kilos, she considers herself obese if her BMI shifts just slightly from 19 to 20. And both of them spend like 8+ hours a week in the gym. He also exercises and, enjoys his food and drink. So this personal struggle kind of prompted him to ask, if these natural carb blockers can make a difference for these, let's say, difficult to enhance individuals,
Right.
how much more might they benefit those who are perhaps metabolically more challenged?
That is incredibly relatable. Hearing about his family's specific struggles, it really does highlight how these challenges aren't just for certain groups. It affects even highly active, health-conscious people. It makes me wonder, though, is there a risk? Could tools like this maybe inadvertently encourage people to be less mindful about their overall diet, creating a reliance rather than promoting a balanced approach?
That's a really crucial point, and it's one the author actually addresses directly. He suggests that for many, diet adherence isn't really a failure of willpower. It's more a challenge of navigating a very carb-heavy world.
True.
So he highlights 2 key strategies for using these natural carb blockers. One is tactical, for sporadic use, those occasional indulgence moments. The other is potentially as a long-term regulator, maybe to achieve specific metabolic goals. But he's very, very clear up front. This is not a magic bullet. Anyone looking for a quick fix, well, they might be disappointed. It's fundamentally about understanding the science to make informed, conscious choices. It's not a license to enable, reckless eating.
Right. Expectation management is key. Okay, so we know why Dr. Kraushaar started looking into this. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do these natural carb blockers actually work, like on a molecular level? He breaks it down pretty well for us in his Science in 60 Seconds section.
Yeah, at its core, it's quite simple, really. Carbohydrates fundamentally are just sugar molecules bonded together in chains. To get into your bloodstream, these chains, they need to be broken down into individual sugar molecules. And specific enzymes do that job.
Okay.
Carb blockers basically interfere with these enzymes. They effectively jam them up, which cripples sugar absorption into your body. This blunts that blood sugar spike after a meal and consequently reduces the calorie absorption too.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. He uses this fantastic analogy, the key and the lock. Can you walk us through that?
Absolutely. It's a good one. So our foods contain simple sugars, monosaccharides like glucose, fructose. Think fruit, honey.
Yeah.
And they also contain more complex ones like disaccharides, that's maltose, sucrose, table sugar, and starches, which are just long chains of glucose like in bread or pasta.
Got it.
Our digestive system needs to break all of these complex ones down into individual monosaccharides to absorb them. Two key enzymes are involved. First, amylase starts by cutting the long chains. Then alpha-glucosidase, which is right there in the small intestine,
Yeah.
that severs the final bonds, turning pairs of sugars, the disaccharides, into single ones. So think of alpha-glucosidase as the lock, and the sugars are the key trying to get into that lock to be broken down.
And this is where mulberry leaf extract, MLE, comes in with its clever fake key, is that right?
Exactly. That's the perfect way to put it. MLE contains a compound called 1-deoxynitromycin, or D&J for short. D&J acts like a dud key for that glucosidase enzyme, the lock. It fits mechanically. It looks almost like the sugar molecule, thanks to a subtle chemical tweak, a nitrogen atom replacing an oxygen one.
Clever chemistry.
Very. But crucially, it doesn't activate the lock. It just sits there. So when enough D&J molecules jam these locks, the real sugars from your pasta or your pizza or pancakes, they just can't get in to be broken down.
Mm.
And this has two main effects. First, a blunted post-meal rise in blood sugar, and second, an overall reduced absorption of sugar, and therefore fewer calories absorbed.
Okay, that makes sense, the jamming mechanism.
Right. But there's also a third effect, and this one is maybe less enjoyable for some people. The unabsorbed disaccharides, the ones that couldn't get broken down, they move further down into your colon.
Ah.
And there, your gut microbes have a party. They ferment them. This produces gases, carbon dioxide, methane, hydrogen, which, yes, can lead to bloating and discomfort for some people. You know which exit routes those gases take.
Right, the less glamorous side effect.
Indeed. But there's a flip side. It also means these undigested disaccharides act as prebiotics. They actually nourish your beneficial gut bacteria. So a bit of a trade-off there. And incidentally, the name Nogiri-mycin apparently comes from a Japanese lake where a bacterial antibiotic containing this molecule was first found.
Interesting bit of trivia. Okay, so the fake key mechanism makes sense chemically, but like with anything in health, the real question is, does it actually work? What did the studies find?
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. The research, including a specific crossover experiment where participants had different carb drinks with or without MLE, gives us some clear insights. They basically found three key things.
Okay, what are they?
First, no effect of MLE, or specifically the D&J in it, on monosaccharides. So if your food already contains simple sugars like free glucose or fructose, think honey, which is like 75% monosaccharides, MLE won't do anything.
Why not?
Because those sugars don't need that alpha-glucosidase enzyme, the lock, to be absorbed. They can get straight in. So you wouldn't want to waste your MLE capsules on those foods.
Good tip. What's the second finding?
Second, a clear blunted blood sugar rise when people consume disaccharides, like sucrose, along with MLE. In the study, the blood glucose spike was blunted by close to 20% within the first hour after ingestion. So a noticeable effect.
20%. Okay, and the third?
Third, and this is quite important, no below baseline blood sugar crash afterward when they had disaccharides plus MLE.
That no below baseline blood sugar crash, that sounds like a huge plus. Connecting this to the bigger picture, why is preventing that crash so important for managing health, cravings?
Oh, it's vital. Absolutely vital. Because preventing that crash, that dip below your normal baseline, it saves you from that awful hunger pang that usually follows a big sugar hit. When your blood glucose nosedives like that, your brain, which is very glucose hungry, basically screams at you, go get more carbs now.
The dreaded rebound hunger.
Exactly. And the MLE effectively prevented that cycle in the study, which is potentially excellent news for managing cravings and, avoiding that pattern of overeating.
That is a really crucial point. Makes a lot of sense. However, the author also gives us a yes, but moment, doesn't he, regarding the overall calorie reduction.
He does.
So it's not a license to eat an entire cake, is it? It sounds more like a tool to manage the impact of specific moments when you do indulge. It blunts the metabolic fallout without completely negating the enjoyment, maybe. Seems like expectation management is key here. This isn't about avoiding consequences of truly excessive eating, but maybe just softening the blow of an occasional treat.
That's a perfect summary. Exactly. The, let's call the inconvenient news, is that while that initial blood sugar spike is blunted, the total calorie reduction measured over a longer period, say 120 minutes, is less than that 20% spike reduction. It's probably lower overall. So like the author clearly states, adding MLE D&J to your carb meals won't perform a genocide on food calories. That's his phrase.
Okay. Memorable.
It's not a free pass for unlimited indulgence. But, and this is important, the benefits do extend beyond just blunting that sugar spike.
Right, you mentioned other hidden plus points. Beyond just controlling the immediate sugar response, it makes me think about how many people are trying to manage insulin resistance these days. How could this fit into a broader strategy? It sounds like it's not just about that immediate post-meal feeling, it's impacting longer-term metabolic markers too.
Absolutely. That's a great connection to make. Adding MLE-DNJ to meals rich in diabaga and oligosaccharide carbs, those complex ones also significantly dials down insulin production.
Ah, the insulin connect.
Yes, and that's highly beneficial for several reasons. Big insulin spikes can actually prevent your body from burning fat for energy. They can also signal your liver to convert excess carbs into fats for storage. And, as we just discussed, they drive that blood glucose crash later on.
So dampening the insulin response is a big win.
A very big win. So there's a clear substantial benefit to using carb blockers like MLE, not just tactically for those dietary slip-ups, but also potentially as a long-term regulator for overall metabolic health.
And it's backed by more than just one study.
Oh yes, it's not just one study. A very recent review actually confirmed these observations across multiple studies. They found roughly a 20% reduction in sugar absorption, clear anti-diabetic and anti-hyperglycemic effects, moderate but still meaningful weight loss effects in some studies, and even improvements in lipid profiles. And importantly, the author made sure to reference studies that weren't co-authored by industry representatives, people potentially biased towards positive results.
That's good scientific practice.
Definitely. He specifically highlighted Phenova, the manufacturer of a product called Reducose. It's used extensively in research, and it's standardized to contain 4.5% to 5.5% DNJ. Having that kind of standardization and independent research adds significant weight to his findings. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so if you're listening and intrigued, maybe thinking about how you might incorporate this, Dr. Kraushar gives a practical guide, 3 steps, plus a crucial one for your wallet. Let's start with timing. When do you take it?
Right, step 1, timing. This is pretty straightforward. Take it with your meal. Ideally, he suggests you can even open the capsule and just spread the powder directly on your food. He tried it, says MLE is essentially tasteless.
Oh, interesting. Why open the capsule?
Well, the key is that the DNJ needs to arrive at those enzyme sites in the small intestine at the same time as the carbs, or maybe even slightly before them. If your capsules are designed to be slow release, getting that exact timing right becomes difficult. So opening them is a good strategy to ensure it's there when the carbs arrive for maximum effectiveness.
Makes sense. Get it there right on time. Okay, step 2, determining your dose. This raises the question, does the glucose blockage scale directly with how much MLE you take? Is more always better?
Good question. To a degree, yes. But it's really important to understand the law of diminishing returns here. Remember, DNJ competes with the disaccharides for spots on those glucosidase enzymes. It doesn't completely monopolize them, it just gets in the way. So the author condenses insights from several studies into a general range, about 0.2 to 0.5 milligrams of actual DNJ per 1 gram of available carbohydrate in your meal.
Available carbohydrate, what exactly does that mean?
Right, that's a key distinction. Remember, MLE won't work on monosaccharides, the simple sugars, like in honey or lots of fruits, because they don't need that enzyme. So available carbs are the ones that do need that enzyme. For optimal effects, you should aim your MLE gun, so to speak, at starch-heavy meals. Think pasta, bread, rice, potatoes, or foods sweetened with sucrose, like table sugar.
Gotcha. So target the complex carbs and sucrose.
Exactly. The author actually provides a list of carb blocker resilient foods, the ones that won't work well on in his downloadable package, which is helpful. And one other factor for dosage. You also need to consider your personal tolerance for those potential side effects we mentioned.
Ah, yes, the gassy consequences.
Precisely. That fermentation can lead to flatulence, bloating, maybe some discomfort. So your optimal dose might also depend on what you can comfortably manage without too much digestive drama.
Right. Finding your personal sweet spot, balancing effect and comfort. Okay, step 3. Translating your dose into the number of tablets or capsules. This isn't as straightforward as it sounds, is it?
No, definitely not.
The author shows examples where different brands, he mentions Swanson and Glucose Goddess, can have wildly different amounts of actual DNJ, even if the bottles look similar or list similar milligram amounts of MLE. It sounds like you really have to read the fine print.
That's absolutely right. You really do. Manufacturers have quite varying ideas about what constitutes a serving size, and crucially, the actual percentage of DNJ within their mulberry leaf extract. It's not always standardized. So, for example, one 500 milligram capsule of MLE from one brand might contain less than half the active D&J compound compared to another brand serving, even if the total MLE amount looks similar.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is. And this is precisely why understanding that ratio, the zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.5 milligram of D&J per gram of available carb, is so empowering for you, the consumer. It gives you the knowledge to look past the marketing hype, critically evaluate the label, and figure out what you're really getting in terms of the active ingredient. It lets you make an informed choice.
That's super helpful. Okay, and then there's the plus one step, protecting your wallet, always appreciated when navigating the supplement market.
Yes, definitely. Since it's really all about the D&J content, your purchase decision ideally should be based on the price per unit of D&J, not just the price per capsule or per milligram of extract. You also want to consider the brand's credibility and their transparency about standardization.
Makes sense. Pay for the active ingredient.
Exactly. The author even offers an online calculator on his site to help you translate label details from different products into a comparable price per unit of D&J. And he also cautions you to be wary of brands with confusing or potentially misleading labels, like ones that might confuse the amount of D&J with the total amount of MLE. They aren't the same thing.
Good watch out.
He personally mentions preferring standardized products, like Phynova's Redicose that we talked about earlier, mainly because it's been used in a lot of the research and offers consistent quality. It just highlights the challenge, But the supplement market doesn't have the same rigorous FDA oversight as the pharmaceutical market. So critical evaluation by you, the consumer, is really important.
Absolutely crucial. Okay, so we've covered the main mechanism, the evidence, the practicalities. Beyond its primary role in blood sugar management, are there any other maybe fringe benefits to mulberry leaf extract that we should be aware of?
There are, actually. It's interesting. Mulberry leaf extracts more broadly also possess antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. This is likely why they've been used for centuries in traditional Asian medicine for various ailments.
Ah, so it has a history.
It does. So while D&J is clearly the dominant component driving the blood sugar lowering or hypoglycemic effects, these broader phytochemical benefits are certainly noteworthy. They add another layer of potential health advantages beyond just carb blocking.
That's great to know. So circling back to the author's personal N of 3 experiment with his family, what was his takeaway for them?
Well, he shares that for his wife, who apparently gravitates towards carbs more often, using MLE might be like a weekly affair for a few weeks, sort of a targeted intervention. For him, though, given his usual diet, which is more meat and fruit heavy, it's mostly reserved for those specific occasions. When a burger or pizza makes a rare appearance.
Tactical use again.
Exactly. And he promises to share the results of their little experiment later, but he keeps reminding us it's not a magic bullet. It's about strategic, informed use.
It really reinforces that idea, doesn't it? That understanding these tools is about empowerment, not about achieving perfection or finding loopholes. It's about having realistic options to support your health goals in, let's face it, a pretty carb-heavy world.
Well said. That's precisely the takeaway.
So, wrapping this up, what stands out most to you from our discussion today? For our listeners, will mulberry leaf extract be maybe a tactical tool for those occasional dietary slip-ups, or perhaps something they might consider as a longer-term regulator for their metabolic health? It's certainly given us, and hopefully you, a lot to think about regarding how we approach managing our diets and navigating those tempting moments. What an insightful deep dive we've had today into mulberry leaf extract and the science of these natural carb blockers. We've really unpacked how it works, what the research actually shows, the good and the limitations, and those practical steps for using it effectively, and importantly, choosing reputable products. It's a powerful reminder, I think, that sometimes science can offer these clever solutions to everyday challenges, helping us maybe go beyond just relying on sheer willpower all the time.
Indeed. Dr. Kraushaar provides a really balanced, nuanced perspective here. He equips us, and you listening, with the knowledge needed to make informed decisions for your own health. It's truly about empowering you to better manage your body's metabolic response to food without necessarily having to completely sacrifice enjoyment in those moments that matter socially or personally.
Absolutely. And if you want to dive even deeper into Dr. Kraushaar's work, remember you can find him on his Substack. It's called Double Check Doc. He also offers a whole bunch of free downloadable resources related specifically to this article on his site. Things like a 5-minute clinical briefing aimed at health practitioners,
Useful.
a 2-page action plan handout for patients, that list of carb blocker resilient foods we mentioned, and even an illustrated guide showing the carb digestion pathway and where carb blockers attack. Really useful visuals.
Wow, quite comprehensive.
Yeah, lots of great follow-up material there. Well, thank you for joining us on this exploration. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.